In another gas station in Washington Avenue, so.
Only.
All right, Mayor, you are live.
People, please take their seats. We'll get started momentarily. People here up there, okay? Yes, good. Okay, great. Good evening, everyone. The hour of 6 o'clock having arrived on the 17th of June, 2025. My honor to call to order the City of Racine Common Council. First order of business is the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. If you please rise as you are able and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Order of business is the approval of the council proceedings. All important at this time, I would entertain a motion to approve said minutes. Move to approve. Second. The motion in a second by Alderman Mack to approve said minutes. Any discussion of the minutes? Seeing no discussion, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? That motion carries. We'll now move on to public comments and we'll call upon the clerk to read the procedures before we begin public comments.
The public comment segment is an opportunity for citizens to speak directly to the Common Council. Speakers will limit their remarks to 3 minutes. There shall be no dialogue or interaction between the speaker and elected officials or staff. This time is not intended to be a debate or discussion. The Common Council should not hear personal complaints or attacks against any city employee or elected official or any matter related to an individual claim, citation, appeal, or lawsuit. Profane, disruptive, threatening, or conduct that otherwise impedes the safe, orderly, and effective conduct of the Common Council meeting is equally unacceptable during the public comment period, and as it is during all other portions of city meetings. When a group of people representing one viewpoint wishes to address the council, one person should be appointed the designated speaker or the group. Candidates for public office may not use this opportunity to campaign for office. Speakers during the public comment period should follow all rules of the Common Council and rulings of the chair, including a decision to terminate the remarks if the speaker does not adhere to these rules. Public comments should be limited to ideas or concerns regarding the city of Racine. There will be 2 speakers this evening. First speaker up, Mike Langendorf, Women's Way, Racine, Wisconsin.
Hey, good evening, Mr. Mayor and members of the council. Thank you for your dedication to our community. I would conservatively guess that you are addressed with complaints 95% of the time versus compliments. I'm Michael Langendorf, Drager Langendorf Funeral Home, 4600 County Line Road in Mount Pleasant, and I'm here this evening just to say a few words regarding the fountain at Mound Cemetery, as I find myself being a voice of those who are no longer with us. On September 11th, 2001, the violent attack of the Twin Towers in New York City killed thousands of people in a matter of minutes. It was then that the phrase, "we will never forget," began to be used quite frequently. To remember the thousands of lives from that day, an eternal, permanent, peaceful monument was built so that we would always remember. Exactly 6 years ago today, June 17th, 2019, Racine police officer John Hetman was killed in the line of duty. We will never forget. Early this morning, just today, June 17th, 2025, the patriarch of our funeral home, Jerome H. Drager, passed away at the age of 93. During his career, he helped thousands of families through the most difficult times in their lives. We will never forget. Mound Cemetery is a permanent, sacred land to honor those who were an important part of Racine's history. From the Indian burial mounds to a young man passing through Racine in the early 1900s with a circus that was accidentally trampled by one of the circus elephants, but there was no way to send him home. He's at Mound. S.C. Johnson, William H. Horlick, J.I. Case, W.P. Wigley, a special section for Racine Fire Department, Mr. Taylor, Mr. Slauson, Mr. Lathrop, and many other forefounders that are laid to rest at Mound Cemetery. They're all a vital part of what Racine is today. In the early 1960s, Mr. Wadowitz had a majestic fountain built to remember all of those four founders and permanently etch their memories into our hearts. As only 60% of the graves at Mound have headstones, the other 40% do not. This fountain is the only permanent monument that is for everyone that has been laid to rest in that cemetery. The fountain had major restoration approximately 10 years ago. So it's hard to believe or even fathom or understand why that fountain is not operable at this time. I'm afraid it's a sign that we may actually be beginning to start to forget. I encourage each of you to take 5 minutes when you're out and about and stop by that fountain. You will see its beauty and the probability that it will not take much
Please
to
conclude
get
your,
it functional.
please conclude your remarks.
Do the right thing, help us get this fountain fixed, so we can begin to never forget it.
Our next speaker is Oscar Salas, 521 4th Street.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen of this common council, body of the council, I appreciate you guys' time today. First and foremost, let's remember the blue line that they sit here and try to protect our community. 6 years ago, we lost John. He gave everything to this community, and we need to remember him. But with remembering him and keeping that in our hearts, we also have to remember accountability. And we have to remember what we tell the public. If you're going to say, hey, give me 30 days, I'll have something signed. You're going to do that. Not, oh, let me twiddle my thumbs on it. Make it happen. We have many law enforcement officers in this community still fighting for a contract. In a statement that I received from somebody, I'm not gonna mention names because everybody knows who that is. They promised us, I said, are we gonna have that contract in a year? Because that's what it seems like, year, and nothing is being done. They fight fires, they go into burning buildings before the fire department get there, they do a lot for our community. They protect our homes, they protect our citizens, and they have a family to go home to. So we must remember that, as human beings, not just a number that if your house is getting broken into, that you want them to be there. Not if something's happened to your significant other or your family member or a shooting. You want them to be there, do you not? What if it happens in other cities and they just walk off and say, we're done? Because we don't have a contract. What happens then? What happens to the city that we love? What happens to the people that needed a teddy bear at the hospital because they got sick? Who's bringing that to them? It ain't a lot of you guys because you don't work the streets. They do. And their family wants them home at night. But fighting for a contract for this long is unacceptable. Especially, can you please make a little bit of time to talk to me? Sure. Are we gonna have a contract within a year? Well, legal stuff is holding that up, but all the legal stuff is done. So I asked a dumb question. So we're gonna have it in a year? No, have it in 30 days. And that was a statement to the media department. But yet we're still sitting here 30-something days later. And we don't have a contract. Why not? We must think about that. When you go home tonight, hopefully your home ain't broken into, hopefully nothing bad happens. Because guess what? You're gonna be calling the men in blue to actually take them to a report. They don't have a
Please
contract.
conclude your remarks.
If they don't have a contract, they can't do their job.
And this concludes the public comment, the common council public comments.
Okay, moving on to item E, this is the public hearing to exceed geographical restrictions for Class A retail fermented malt beverage license for fuel and safe located at 930 Washington Avenue. We have people signed in to speak on this item.
We do have one individual, Oscar Salas, from 6th Street, Racine, Wisconsin.
Good afternoon, talk about this, I did talk, and I've been running some stories on this, I've actually looked into what these people are doing. And I've looked at the geographical myself, I just wanna talk about an approval. Because, yeah, we have multiple different liquor licenses there. This building has been abandoned for a long time. I actually got to take a chance to actually see what they're doing and the redevelopment process of that. So you think about it, oh, we have 2 alcohol licenses, think about this. Is somebody gonna go to a little convenience store that's not that big? Or are they gonna go to a convenience store? So if they get their gas, then they don't have to run across the street and actually get liquor at the same time. They're saving a step in the process. But we look at what they've actually done for our community. Every place that they've gotten, they've made it better. And this is the gateway to Racine, downtown Racine. People coming in, traveling, that's a great place to put a convenience store and a gas station. Because of the simple fact is, we don't have something that close to downtown. We have one a couple blocks, I think about a mile away. But if someone like, you've all done it, 4th of July is coming, okay? Let's say, oh, I'm getting there, oh man, I forgot my ice. I forgot my pickles, I forgot my gas. You know what? I'm not driving today, I'm gonna grab a case of beer. It's just a responsible thing to do. They get the gas, they get their ice, we've all done it, we've all forgotten something. But we also must look at what they've done in our community and how much they have actually given back to the community. And how much this is going to revenue in tax for the city. And how much this is gonna do for the downtown community. Because it'll make it easier for people and convenient to actually get in there and have fun, like we just had this weekend. So I personally wanna encourage you guys to approve it. Yes, we do have something a couple blocks away, maybe a block away, across the street, it's not the same thing. A lot of people go to gas stations to get their alcohol, like whether it's tobacco. They don't think about the little convenience store. Yeah, are they still gonna do business? Is it gonna hurt them? Not really, because their loyal people are gonna go there. But this is gonna help the people that, oops, I forgot my ice on 4th of July or Memorial Day or something like that. So that's all I gotta say is think about it and think about what these people have done for our community and the positive growth that they've helped already in redevelopment of our city. So, thank you.
Are there any other members of the public present wishing to speak to the public hearing to exceed geographical restrictions for Class A retail fermented malt malt beverage license for Fuel and Safe located at 930 Washington Avenue? Seeing none, I'll declare the public hearing on this item closed, and we will move on to communications introduced to the council. So we'll ask Alder Land to read in the items referred to finance and personnel. Alder Land.
Item 0578-25, communication sponsored by myself on behalf of the city attorney requesting to modify ordinance 006-25. Item 0609-25, communication sponsored by myself on behalf of the city attorney requested the city attorney present the full settlement in the case of Shop et al. Versus City of Racine. Item 0610-25, communication sponsored by myself on behalf of the city attorney's office submitting the claim of Judith M. Erickson. Item 0611-25, communication sponsored by myself on behalf of the city attorney's office submitting the claim of Tanisha L. Norris. Item 0613-25, communication sponsored by myself on behalf of the city's attorney's office, submitting the claim of Albert Dunn. Item 0614-25, communication sponsored by Mayor Mason requesting to enter into contract number 2025302 with the Racine Art Museum Association. Item 0616-25, communication sponsored by Mayor Mason and myself on behalf of the Chief of Police requesting to apply for the 2025 Bureau of Justice Assistance Grant. Item 0617-25, communication sponsored by Mayor Mason and myself on behalf of the Chief of Police requesting to apply for the 2025 Federal Bulletproof Vest Partnership Grant. Item 0618-25, communication sponsored by Mayor Mason and myself on behalf of the Chief of Police requesting to apply for the 2026 Beat Patrol Grant. Item 0643-25, communication sponsored by Mayor Mason on behalf of the city administrator, submitting the negotiated internal brotherhood Teamsters Local 200 2025 to 2026 collective bargaining agreement for consideration. I'd like to move these to refer these to finance and personnel.
The motion to refer these items to finance personnel, is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Alder Horton. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, that motion carries. Moving on to referrals to Public Works and Services, Alderman.
Thank you, Your Honor. The right page. First item 0600-25, communication on behalf of Lieutenant Ortiz, City of Racine Police Department. Michael Stein requested permission to place one sign over city right away at the Racine Police Main Street Community Policing Office at 434 Main Street. Item 0601-25, communication on behalf of the city engineer, submitting the approval of an encroachment report for state project ID 2703-08-01/71. South Memorial Drive to issue orders for the property owners for the removal of the encroachments. Next item is 0602-25, communication on behalf of the Department of Public Works to make change order number 1 to contract 2024-209 Field Depot upgrade M&M service station equipment specialist contractors. Then in the last item is 0603-25, communication on behalf of the Department of Public Works submitting the lease agreement for Toys for Tots. I move that they be referred to Public Works and Services. Second.
There's a motion and a second to move these items to Public Works and Services. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, that motion carries. Now moving on to refer to Public Safety and Licensing by Alder Weidner. Alder Weidner.
Thank you. Make a motion to refer the following items to the Public Safety and Licensing Committee.
Second.
First item is 0619-25, communication submitting a new massage establishment application for Matthews Down DBA Relax 17, located at 3417 Douglas Avenue. Matthews agent. That's item 0620, communication submitting a new massage establishment application for Rewen Zoo DBA Lucky Rewen Zoo Therapy located at 906 State Street. Rewen Zoo agent. Item 062125, communication submitting a renewal request for a public dance hall for the 2025-2026 year for Banquet Hall Goodness LLC 3319 Washington Avenue. Item 0622-25, communication submitting a renewal request for a gasoline service station for the 2025-26 year for M&M Fitco LLC 2101 Douglas Avenue. Item 0623, communication requesting the appearance of Courtney Marshall, agent for the 20 Grand Lux LLC DBA 20 Grand Lux located at 1307 Douglas Avenue, pursuant to a formal expression of concern, and also requesting consideration of rescinding the formal expression of concern. Item 0624-25, communication on behalf of the City of Racine Police Department for the licenses premise report. Final item 062526, communication requesting any consideration, any formal expression of concern or other actions pursuant to a police report.
A motion and a second to refer these items to Public Safety and Licensing. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, that motion carried. We'll now move on to the standing committee reports. We begin with Finance and Personnel Committee. Alder Allen chaired the meeting last, so we'll ask her to give a report. Alder Allen, do you have any items for separate consideration?
I do, thank you. Your item 0567-25, subject. Communication sponsored by Mayor Mason and Town Council President Whitten, submitting the 2026 budget calendar for consideration. Recommendation of Finance and Personnel Committee on June 9, 2025, that's the 2026 budget calendar meeting. Make a motion for it to be held for separate consideration.
You don't need a motion for separate consideration. We just need a motion to approve.
Oh, sorry.
The motion to approve the item, seconded by Alder Bland. Discussion on the item. Alder Weidner.
Thank you. I called this item out because I think it's worthwhile to have a little discussion because I observed something brand new. In this recommendation that we had not, experienced before, so I think it's worthy of some discussion. First thing that I want to note, though, is the time calendar that we have for reviewing the budget. It is intense. So we have almost 10 days in a row where council is going to be meeting daily to go over the budget. And why we have to wait until October 21st really to be presented with the budget. It is really behooves me. But if this is what the council is willing to do, spend 10 days, in a row, going over the budget before we have to submit our amendments to the budget. So be it. I mean, that's what we're approving here tonight. The part that really bothers me is the resolution that's attached to the calendar. This is not something that we have done before, so those that are new to the council, you should kind of be aware of that. These have always been a given, but this codifies it, and what I'm afraid is gonna happen is it's gonna control our ability to have full and robust discussion on one of the most important functions of us as a body as town council, and that is the budget. So for example, whereas amendments proposed to the budget by August must be submitted in writing to the finance director no later than close of business on Friday, October 31st. Now, mind you, that is the day after we have the public hearing on the budget. So we have a very short timeline to get those in. And then it says amendments submitted after this date will not be considered on the council. Well, does that mean that when we go to amend the budget and issues come up that we have to amend it first, that we're not going to be able to make those amendments? Something that we need to know. This resolution that says, whereas the city of Racine finds itself in a structural deficit. I don't know why this would be put into the resolution. The next one is proposed amendments must identify cuts in spending of an equal or greater amount if the amendment proposes spending city resources on something else. So again, I don't know why these are in the resolution. This has been something that we've done with budgets, but if we codify it, it's gonna limit our ability to really have a full-throated discussions. And this is the one that bothers me the most, because I'm not really sure where this is coming from. Whereas in accordance with state statute, funding for amendments for capital projects can only come from capital funded sources, and funding for amendments for operations can only come from operations funded sources, and therefore is resolved the city council adopts this resolution in accordance with the city ordinance. Having this resolution was not part of the ordinance we passed, where we kind of codified when the budget calendar would be. So I do have some concern because there were amendments made last year to the budget, and from my understanding, the year before, where we budgeted money from the neighborhood TIDs for public works types projects. So for example, TID 28 funded the removal of the bridge over at Lincoln Park. This last year for 2025, the TID also funded the purchase of cameras down in Colonial Park rather than put in the gate as had been requested. So I don't know if that's gonna limit our ability to make these amendments, and I'm not really sure why we have to codify it. So, I'm fine if the council, this body is fine with having this intent of a calendar to adopt a budget. But I do have a problem, and I cannot support the resolution that has been attached for the first time ever that has the potential. And knowing how things have happened historically, there's a very real possibility that's gonna limit our ability to really improve the budget that we're presenting. Therefore, I'm gonna be voting against the calendar only because of the resolution attached.
Any other discussion on the item? Alder Jorgensen?
No president.
Alder Brett?
Thank you. I just have a question and I'm going to direct it to the city attorney. In the past, we've had the question come up with whether we can amend something at the last moment. And because the purpose of the meeting is to go over the ordinance and structure of whatever we're looking at the time, the answer was always yes, not recommended, but yes. Does this ordinance then codify and take away our ability to review ordinances just on the budget or other ordinances as well that could be included in discussion and amendment while it's being introduced or voted on?
Is your question specific to ordinances that would be proposed along with the budget?
No, it's more general, because this one is, the way it sounds like it's worded, is that we won't have the ability to discuss and amend at the last moment. In the past, when we've worked on the budget, we have had that ability, because that's the purpose of our meeting. Are we taking away then one of the main goals of our ability to together discuss an option by codifying this and making it a rule? And then does that rule apply to other areas of discussion when we're looking at an agenda and trying to approve an agenda?
Okay. Well, this proposed resolution just relates to the budget schedule that's proposed here, not anything beyond the budget schedule. And there is a meeting, of course, that specifically provides for budget amendments to be debated and voted upon. But the question, if I understand it, is can the common council at some later point during the budget process decide it wants to consider an amendment? This would be a rule of procedure adopted by the common council for the budget process. And if the common council decides that it wants to suspend the rule and vote in an appropriate supermajority, which is required to suspend rules, the common council could decide to take up some later other procedure in a later meeting, such as propose an amendment at a later meeting. Again, assuming the common council decides to suspend the rule.
But only if it's codified, does it then become the need for a supermajority to amend that?
No, there's already a requirement that a supermajority be required to suspend the rules. In some cases, it's 2/3, in some cases, it's 3/4, depending upon the topic. But again, this is maybe the word codified. This is just a resolution the common council would be approving. It's not an ordinance, so. And it's just related to this year's budget calendar and process.
Alder Jordan.
Yeah, I have a question for the finance director.
Alder Fisher would make her way to the dais. Why don't you state your question? It should come.
Yeah, that was brought up tonight of, the part about, whereas the city of Racine finds itself in a structural deficit. I'll keep my question brief. That's 100% factual, right? We are in a structural deficit going into this budget calendar.
Yes, that is 100% factual and has been the case for some.
Okay, and so we're just really setting the table here of making sure we're all aware of that is a valid statement. That is what we're looking at as we go into this calendar. So that was my question. I said it would be quick. I feel bad helping your steps in, but that was it. I wanted to be sure that it was set there, that's not hyperbole, that's not anything other than 100% factual statement, and that's why it's there.
Alder Mack.
Thank you, Director Fisher. The week past practice has been a memo went out and we've asked for all budget amendments to be into your office at a certain point for the purpose of allowing your staff to be able to change numbers and whatever else needs to be done so that as we deliberate on those. So what was the timetable on that? Is this different from the past timetable or is this the same as what we did last year?
It's about the same as what you did last year, so it's just really, again, resolving what has been a practice per se, but allowing the discussion and allowing resolving what is actually happening.
Okay. Alder Pete.
Thank you, sir. When I first look at it and it says proposed 2026 budget schedule and process resolution, I'm thinking we're only talking about 1 year. We're not writing anything in stone. These are the steps, the guidelines, procedures we want to follow this year. And taking into consideration the structural deficits, et cetera. As things change, then we have a new resolution, so I'm a little bit not sure why we're having so much controversy.
Any other discussion on Alder Allen?
And I guess I want to speak up on what all the people was just saying. If I'm understanding correctly, in the past, maybe this was a little bit more, relaxed or process. And I think that if we're looking at actual flight structure and the resolution, I know I read the resolution, but to me, it just, as Alder Jorgensen was pointing out with his question, it just kind of gives an understanding of how we're going into this budget. And if we are in a structured process, we're just gonna have to, it'll allow us or force us to focus and really, concentrate and get this budget done instead of dragging out the process and turning it into some of the things that we kind of witnessed this in regular meetings during our process last year. So I think that if we can move forward with this for this year, right? And as the city attorney indicated that in the future, if we need to, we are able to kind of readdress this and suspend the rule.
Any further discussion on the item? Alder Kelly?
I have a question for the finance director, please. In that last paragraph, it says funding for the amendments for capital projects can only come from capital funding sources, and funding for amendments for operations can only come from the operations funded sources. So does that also mean that you can't cross funds? What do you mean by cross fund? So using a different fund instead of, say, the general fund? No. Or a general fund amendment? You could still use another operating fund, just not a capital fund. Okay, can you give me an example from something like, let's say last year, that we're trying to curtail with this resolution? There's not anything specific maybe from last year that I have off the top of my head, but for example, and this hasn't happened, but for example, if an alder would make an amendment on the floor, let's say very late in the game and say, I want us to have 10 more police officers and I want to take that out of the capital budget. That is not something that is legal or that we can do. So those are the types of things that we're talking about here. Yeah, that part I totally understand. So the health insurance fund and the other fund that I think something was taken out of last year is still under the general fund, correct? Correct, that's under the operations. This is more the capital projects tab of your budget book, if you will, fund 450, 451, 452. Thank you.
Any further discussion on this item? When the clerk calls your name, please vote as you wish.
Alder Harmon,
Aye.
Alder Pavone,
Aye.
Alder Townsend, Alder Davis,
Aye.
Alder Matt,
Aye.
Alder Jorgensen,
Aye.
Alder Weidner.
Widener,
I'm sorry?
needs to be Alder Widener,
Oh, I think I did. Alder White?
Widener, yes,
Okay.
aye.
Aye.
I mean, no, sorry.
Alder Horton,
Aye.
Alder Skeda,
Aye.
Alder Allen,
Aye.
Alder Pete,
Aye.
Alder Lamb,
Aye.
Alder Perez,
No.
Alder Kelly. No. Alder Perez, so?
No.
No. 11 ayes, 3 noes.
Motion carries. I'm just taking note of, I did not, I'm sorry, Alder Allen, did you have any other items for separate consideration?
No.
And without objection, the remainder of these items on this report will be placed on the consent agenda, and we will move on to the Public Works and Services Committee. Alder Mack, did you have any items for separate consideration?
I have no items.
Take them without objection. These items will be placed on the consent agenda. Moving on to the Public Safety and Licensing Committee report. Alder Whiter, did you have any items for separate consideration? Okay. And without objection, the public safety license report will be placed on the consent agenda. Moving on now to the Community Development Block Grant Advisory Board report. Alder Horton, did you have any items for separate consideration?
No, not this time.
Without objection, these items will be placed on the control agenda. Leaving us with the Office of the Mayor report. You'd like to read these items, they are directed for.
All right, 0584-25, communication sponsored by Mayor Mason on behalf of the fire chief, voicing the mayor, city clerk, finance director, and the fire chief to be authorized to sign the city of Racine portion of the Wisconsin Emergency Management State Regional Hazardous Material Response Team contract for the period of July 1, 2025 to June 30th, 2027. Staff recommendation, the mayor and city clerk and finance director and the fire chief are authorized to sign Wisconsin Emergency Management State Regional Hazardous Material Response Team contract for the city of Racine covering the period of July 1, 2025 to June 30th, 2027. The city received 98,190.25 per year for training and service rendered. Move to approve.
Second. The motion to approve this item, seconded by Alder Mack. Any discussion on this item? Alder Whitehead.
Just a quick question as to why this did not go through finance?
The timeliness, the next three items are time sensitive and we don't have the 3-week cycle to wait before these items.
All three.
For all three. Good question. Alder Mack.
Having worked with that, State Department, it's not unusual for them to provide a contract or grant approval in a very short turnaround time for approval.
Any other discussion on this item? Seeing none, when the clerk calls your name, please vote as you wish.
Alder Harmon.
Aye.
Alder Pavot.
Aye.
Alder Townsend.
Aye.
Alder Davis.
Aye.
Alder Mack.
Aye.
Alder Jurgensen.
Aye.
Alder Weidner.
Aye.
Alder Horton.
Aye.
Alder Scott.
Aye.
Alder Allen.
Aye.
Alder Pete.
Aye.
Alder Land.
Aye.
Alder Perez.
Aye.
Alder Kelly.
Aye.
14 ayes, 0 noes.
Motion carries. Alder Burton, during the next item.
Next item 0607-25, communication sponsored by Mayor Mason on behalf of the Department of Public Works submitting a three-party consultant internet service agreement between the city of Racine, Woodstock, and Hartsden Handover LLC. State project ID 2029-0-10-02 structural rehabilitation, State Street Bridge over Root River. Staff recommendation that the mayor and city clerk be authorized and directed to enter into a three-party consultant engineering services agreement between the city of Racine, Woodstock, and Hartsden Hanover LLC, the state project. Structural rehabilitation, State Street Bridge over the Root River, and not to exceed the amount of $1,245,240.58. The city's share being the city share being $310,31015, and the state share being $930,930.43. Funding is available in OR 45040-57540. State Street Lift Bridge repairs. Move to approve.
Second. So motion and a second to approve this item. Any further discussion on this item? Seeing none, when the clerk calls your name, please vote as you wish.
Alder Harmon.
Aye.
Alder Pavot.
Aye.
Alder Townsend.
Aye.
Alder Davis. Alder Mack.
Aye.
Alder Jurgensen.
Aye.
Alder Weidner.
Aye.
Alder Horton.
Aye.
Alder Scott. Alder Allen.
Aye.
Alder Pete.
Aye.
Alder Land.
Aye.
Alder Perez.
Aye.
Alder Kelly.
Aye.
14 ayes, 0 noes.
Motion carries. Over to the final.
0615-25, communication sponsored by Mayor Mason on behalf of the chief of police requesting to apply for the 2025 community development grant supporting law enforcement accreditation. Staff recommendation approved to apply for the 2025 community development grant supporting law enforcement accreditation. Fiscal note grant amount is up to $300,000. No city match is required. Move to approve.
Third. There's a motion and a second by Alder Townsend. That was close. Any further discussion on the item? Seeing none, when the clerk calls your name, please vote as you wish.
Alder Harmon.
Aye.
Alder Pavot.
Aye.
Alder Townsend.
Aye.
Alder Davis. Alder Matt,
Aye.
Alder Jurgensen,
Aye.
Alder Weidner,
Aye.
Alder Horn,
Aye.
Alder Skidder. Aye. Alder Allen,
Aye.
Alder P,
Aye.
Alder Lynn,
Aye.
Alder Perez,
Aye.
Alder Kelly. 14 ayes, 0 noes.
The motion carried. That completes the mayor's report. We do then move on to the consent agenda. At this time, President Horton, I'd entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Move to approve.
Second.
A motion and a second, by Alder Bone to approve the consent agenda. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, that motion carries. We'll now move on to common council announcements. Announcements are limited to recognition of city residents and employees, memorials, and non-political community events. Discussion of matters related to government business is prohibited. Alder Perez, I think we want to take a moment to remember our solemn anniversary today.
Today we honor Officer Hedlund, who was involved in a gunfight, passed away, defending our city 6 years ago. And we'd like to light this candle in his honor. And have a moment of silent meditation. Thank you.
Thank you, Alder Perez. Other announcements, Alder Matt.
Thank you. I'd like to congratulate the organizers of the Juneteenth Day Parade. Took the grandsons down there. It was very well done. Being on the Fourth Fest Committee, I know how hard it is to organize and put something of that magnitude on, and they did a fine job. And our city should be proud of the work they did, and also a shout out to the community center staff over the Dr. John Bryant Center for the week of activities. I was able to get down there for 2 of those. And, once again, nicely done. And finally, I'd like to give a shout out to my son, David II, on a successful run of 39 steps at the 6th Street Theater. This weekend is the final performances. I've been getting a lot of compliments, so it makes, for a proud dad here, and if you get a chance to go out and see him, I don't think you'll be disappointed. Thank you.
Thank you. Alder Herman.
Thank you, Mayor. I just would like to let everyone know that on this Friday, June 20th, Island Park will be opening will be having their ribbon cutting ceremony for the beer garden for this year. The event starts at 4 o'clock. And I'm looking forward to having everyone in the community support this, come out, listen to music, fellowship with other community members. It is something to support our community and allow other activities to happen throughout the summer. And we're gonna have a band, we're gonna have fun for everyone. So I appreciate your support and hope to see you there this Friday again, June 20th.
All right, Alder M.
Okay, so another event for Friday, June 20th, it won't take long. The NAACP Racine Branch and the American Red Cross will be sponsoring our blood donor day. And so it's because June is blood donor month. If you decide to be so generous and participate, all donors will be receiving a $15 gift card and the opportunity to win $7,000. You do need to make an appointment, and those appointments will be between 12 noon and 5 p.m. And you can do that. I'll just make it simple. Either go to the redcrossblood.org website or call Walter Williams, who's the president of the NAACP at 262-316-3895. Look forward to everyone donating.
Other announcements, Alder.
All right, thank you, Mr. Mayor. First of all, I'd just like to say, happy birthday. My youngest son's birthday was on June 14th. He celebrated his birthday on June 14th, and also I'd like to thank Alder Perez for the candle lighting, and also just the moment of silence for John Helen, for Officer Helen, and to his family, that we continue to pray for you. And I know every year that we have this law enforcement ceremony to the people in blue, we go out and we attend, and it never get easy. And so to his family and to all of the people that serve with him, all the officers that serve with him, may God continue to bless you guys and keep you. Thank you.
Other announcements? Alicia?
I just wanted to say thank you, for city staff and communications director for putting flag up and for putting that announcement up. Usually on this day, I check in with his parents just to see, you know, how they're doing, and I know they're super appreciative. Even the little things that we do make a huge difference to somebody that lost a child, so, thank you to the staff for doing that.
So I'd like to extend a shout out to Phil Miller and city staff for the call, remind me, saying I've already got it, ready to do it, the flag's ready to go, so kudos to Miller and the buildings and ground staff to make sure that happens. All address.
I'd like to do a shout out to my son, Dr. Adam Perez, and his wife Hannah on their wedding anniversary of 14 years.
Congratulations to you. Other announcements? All reads.
Thank you. My sister will be celebrating her birthday on Friday, June 20th. So early birthday wishes to her. And my son will be celebrating his birthday on June 24th. I have to shout them out, otherwise I have issues later. So wishing them a happy birthday when he comes around. And I won't repeat what Alderman Mack stated, but ditto on the Juneteenth parade. The organizers did a well done job.
Other announcements? Council.
I wanted to kind of echo what a couple others have said, big shout out to everyone who was part of putting together all the festivities for the Juneteenth. I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on all week and it was a lot of fun. I mean, it was very well put together. There was a lot of really good food options, everything, like it was just so cool to see everybody in one place and everybody just getting along and just soaking it all in together. I also just wanted to say, last week I lost someone that was very important to me, and I just want to thank everybody who's reached out to me as support. On your way home today, just call someone that means a lot to you that you haven't talked to in a little bit, because one day you're not gonna be able to.
Well said. Other announcements from others? I did wanna just, with the events coming up, it seems like we're having more and more days with multiple events going on, which is great. We wanna encourage people to go to all of them, or well, perhaps you shouldn't go to the beer garden and the blood drive on the same. But I do wanna just comment, like, last weekend, there was a lot going on, and the city's shown extremely well. You had the Lighthouse Run, 5K's done a great job. They worked with a new organization that came in to bring back Harbor Fest, and although the weather was a little cool, we still had a really good turnout for it. The Juneteenth parade and the Juneteenth celebration, that's the largest Juneteenth celebration I can remember seeing at the Bryant Center. It was great turnout, it was great participation. So well done to all the community organizations and the city staff who put that together. That was really an incredible day. It was hard to believe we were able to do all that in relatively the same space. So congratulations, it all went out without a hitch, and everyone stayed safe. So congratulations to everyone. And then lastly, I too would want to adjourn in honor of the memory of Officer John Hetland, who was killed tragically 6 years ago today. So with that, President Horton, I entertain a motion to adjourn.
Vote to adjourn.
The motion is second to adjourn. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. We are